as both Clinton and Trump did not get into the true spirit of things. In 2000, then candidate George W. Bush, running against Al Gore, attended that dinner.
Thank you all very much. This is an impressive crowd, the haves and the have-mores. Some people call you the elite. I call you my base. The guy on the elevator, we're coming down, he said, "Say." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Anybody ever tell you look like George W. Bush?" I said, "Yeah, it happens quite a bit." He said, "Sure must make you mad."
Perfect, right? Here now, Dana Perino was White House press secretary under President Bush. Quite the contrast, huh?
Yes. The humorous speeches are some of the hardest ones to give, and President Bush put a lot of effort into it. There were White House speechwriters, of course, but sometimes for like a White House Correspondents' Dinner or a roast like the Al Smith dinner, you go to a separate speechwriter, maybe outside, and contract it out because it's such an important one. And the goal is to make everybody feel comfortable and to have that moment of levity. And you see the people behind, and you can hear the out loud laughter, those belly laughs. That's kind of what you want to go for, to make everyone feel comfortable and enjoyable. And last night, apparently, that's not what you saw.
No, not at all. Did he, President Bush, have input into the speech? Did he?
Yes, and he spent a lot of time actually practicing those speeches. So
he practiced them.
So the State of the Union speech, that's one where you would go into the family theater that's in the East Wing of the White House, and he would get up there and he would deliver the State of the Union, and I always like to say, "Okay, stop." So, you know, he might, as he was going through and saying it out loud, edit, but he did the same for the humorous speeches because those were the most. Those are some of your most important minutes.
Because I don't believe, I think Hillary Clinton rehearsed hers. I don't think Trump rehearsed his.
Right.
Because
the timing's important.
Well, he was looking at, you can see it, he was very rarely looking up. He was reading everything. She was a little bit more. But as I said in the talking points memo, and I don't want to belabor the issue, but this is about judgment. They saw this. They knew what these lines were, both of them, you know. And anybody was, you know what, that's not what this is about. You don't want to embarrass the Cardinal. And it was funny because like President Bush, the younger and not, he was always appropriate. Now, I know he had the training from his dad and his family and a traditional, and you got to cut Trump a little slack because he hasn't had none of that. He's a hard scrabble guy in real estate. It's a big difference. But President Bush, to me, was always appropriate. And I remember my interview with him in the Oval Office. You weren't working for him then. Tony Snow was the guy.
No, I was working there. I was a deputy. Yes,
okay,
I was behind the scenes.
You were hiding.
Well, I'm pretty short.
But I kept pounding Bush about why don't you fight back about these people who are sliming you and slandering you? Why do you continue to take it? Because then it becomes in the public a truism. And he just said, look, it's not my job. I don't respond to that.
Well, in the press, and I remember watching you at the time, and I would ask myself, like, why aren't we punching back harder? But partly it was that when I was at the podium giving the press briefing, and Tony Snow felt the same, that if you were saying something that you thought George W. Bush would not be proud of, you swallowed it. You didn't say it. And I remember after I left the White House, I gave a speech to a large group in Washington, D.C., and I told a joke about President Obama that I thought was funny, and all of my friends would have laughed. My husband would have thought it was great. And no one in the room laughed. And it made me feel, I still feel uncomfortable about that moment, and I've never done it since.
Okay. And mentioning President Obama, he's one of the best at giving those kinds of funny speeches. Now, he's a little edgier than Bush the younger is.
Do you remember, and you did a segment on this not too long ago, when President Obama gave the White House Correspondents' speech after the whole birth certificate issue, and Donald Trump was there, and Donald Trump was not happy about being treated that way. You can make a point in these speeches, and you can get news out of them, but hopefully what you do is be respectful to the Cardinal, raise money for the kids, and have a moment of levity that tries to lift the country up.
The Correspondents' Dinner is a little bit different than the Al Smith dinner. The Al Smith dinner is just fun. Correspondents' Dinner, they want to make their points. Yeah, they won't like that. All right, Dana. And I want to plug your book. Dana Perino, everybody, has a new book. It's about a dog. All right? It's called Let Me Tell You About Jasper.